Hello friends, welcome back to the Justice Junction. If you are new here, thanks for checking us out. Today we have a special message for you, and that is if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, now it's the perfect time to hit the subscribe button. In this video, I am going to share with you question answers of Code of Civil Procedure for preliminary point of view. It's also important for legal competitive exams. Either it is RBI, Grade B, it is NET और CLAT. ये हर एक कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम के लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हैं. इट्स काइंड ऑफ रिविजन. स्टार्ट करते हैं. माई फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, डज द डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ रेस जुडिकाटा लीड टू द डिसमिसल ऑफ ए सूट? Yes, in a suit where doctrine of res judicata applies, the suit is liable to be dismissed. एक सूट के अंदर जहां डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ रेस जुडिकाटा अप्लाई होगी, उस सूट को डिसमिस कर दिया जाएगा. नेक्स्ट सिचुएशन इज, A sues B for rent. B contended that C and not A is the landlord. A ने sue किया था B को रेंट के लिए. वहाँ पे B ने बोला कि लैंडलॉर्ड तो C है, A is not the landlord. इस केस में A फेल हो जाता है अपने टाइटल को प्रूव करने के लिए and the suit is dismissed. After that, A sues B and C for declaration of his title to the property. What is the status of this issue now? In this case, res judicata is not applied. The suit is not barred as the parties in both the suits were not the same. दोनों सूट में parties same नहीं थी, इसलिए ये बार नहीं होगा. Now we are going to discuss next question. The question is, what does res judicata do in a legal context? Res judicata stops the parties from proving the previous decision is incorrect. Res judicata stop करता है parties को ये प्रूव करने से प्रीवियस डिसीजन इनकरेक्ट था. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, हाउ डज रेस जुडिकाटा रिलेट टू द इंग्लिश लॉ कंसेप्ट ऑफ एस्टोपल बाय रिकॉर्ड? रेस जुडिकाटा कोरेस्पॉन्ड्स टू दैट पार्ट ऑफ द डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ एस्टोपल नोन इन इंग्लिश लॉ एज एस्टोपल बाय रिकॉर्ड. एस्टोपल बाय रिकॉर्ड, ऑल्सो नोन एज द रेस जुडिकाटा, is a legal doctrine that prevent parties from relitigating the same issue in the court once a final judgment has been rendered in a previous case, effectively treating that judgment as final and conclusive. It bars the parties from challenging the fact and legal issues already decided in the prior case. Next question is, what is the main distinction between res judicata and estoppel in legal context? Res judicata ousts the jurisdiction of the court to try the case, while estoppel is the rule of evidence that shuts the mouth of a party. Here, outs mean to forcefully remove or expel someone or something from a place or position, often involving the replacement or exclusion of the previous occupant or holder. Next question is, what did the court establish in case of Satya versus Teja Singh, 1975 Supreme Court? In this case, court established that a foreign court is recognized in India based on the consideration of justice, equity and good conscience. इस केस में कोर्ट ने स्पष्ट किया कि भारत में विदेशी अदालत को न्याय और अच्छे आत्मसम्मान के मूल्यों के आधार पर पहचाना जाता है. Next question is, what can be challenged under section 13 of the CPC in terms of the jurisdiction? Both judgment in rem and judgment in personam can be challenged under the section 13 of the CPC on the ground of jurisdiction. Next question is a court allowed to pass a decree concerning an immovable property located in a foreign state? No, a court does not have jurisdiction to pass a decree in respect of immovable property situated in a foreign state. Next question is, when can a person challenge a judgment from a foreign court that was obtained in personam? Answer is, a person who institutes a suit in a foreign court and claims a decree in personam can challenge the judgment on the grounds of competency after the judgment is pronounced against them. Next question is, what does section 15 of the CPC pertains to? Section 15 of the CPC pertains to rules of procedure. Section 15 बताता है Code of Civil Procedure का rules of procedure. Next question is the presumption regarding the competency of a foreign court under section 14 of the CPC rebuttable? when a certified copy of the foreign judgment is produced. Yes, the presumption as to competency of the court under section 14 of CPC is a rebuttable presumption of law when a certified copy of the foreign judgment is presented. Next question is, in a lawsuit initiated in England based on a contract formed in India, what law did the English court apply? And why is the judgment not conclusive? The answer is, the English court applied English law, but the judgment is not conclusive because the rights and liabilities of the party to a contract are governed by the place where the contract is made. इंग्लिश कोर्ट्स ने इंग्लिश लॉ को अप्लाई किया है, बट जो जजमेंट है वो कंक्लूसिव नहीं है क्योंकि जो राइट और लायबिलिटी है पार्टीज की जो कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अंदर गवर्नड हैं वो उस प्लेस के हैं जहाँ पे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बना था. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, व्हाट इज द लिमिट फॉर फाइलिंग अ लॉ सूट इन इंडिया टू एनफोर्स ए फॉरेन जजमेंट? ए सूट इंस्टीट्यूटेड in India to enforce a foreign judgment must be filed within 3 years from the date of judgment. ये 3 साल के अंदर फाइल किया जा सकता है from the date of judgment. Next question is that according to section 15 of CPC, in which court grade should every suit be instituted? Every suit should be instituted in a court of lowest grade as specified in section 15 of the CPC. Section 15 के accordingly हर एक सूट lowest court में फाइल किया जाएगा. Next question is, how is the place of institution of suit determined when the local limits of jurisdiction of the court are uncertain? The place of institution of the suit is decided according to the provisions of section 18. Next question is, in the case of a suit concerning immovable property, where can it be filed under section 16 of the CPC? A suit relating to the immovable property can be filed in a court within the local jurisdiction where the property is situated. जिस भी jurisdiction में immovable property situated है वहाँ पे सूट फाइल किया जाएगा. Next question is, what does section 20 of CPC provide for regarding the place of institution of suit concerning immovable property within the jurisdiction of different courts? Section 20 of the CPC provides guidance on the place of institution of suit for the immovable property situated within the jurisdiction of different courts. Section 20 बताता है अगर immovable property different jurisdiction ऑफ डिफरेंट कोर्ट्स के अंडर आती हैं तो कौन सी कोर्ट में सूट फाइल करना चाहिए. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, दैट इज, इफ एक्स रिजाइडिंग इन कलकत्ता इंजर्स वाई इन दिल्ली, वेयर कैन वाई फाइल सूट अगेंस्ट एक्स? इन दिस केस वाई मे sue एक्स आइदर इन दिल्ली और इन कलकत्ता एज पर द रेलेवेंट लीगल प्रोविजंस. Next question is, how does section 19 of CPC addresses the place of suing in suit for compensation of wrong to a person or movable property? Section 19 of CPC provides guidance on the place of suing in suit for the compensation for wrongs to a person or movable property. Next question is, where can A sues B and C regarding the joint promissory note they created together? Answer is, A may sue B and C at Banaras where the cause of action arose, at Calcutta where B resides, and at Delhi where C resides. Next question is, what does section 21A of CPC specify in terms of setting aside a decree passed by the court based on an objection related to the place of suing? Section 21A of the CPC stipulates that no suit can be filed to set aside a decree passed by the court on an objection concerning the place of suing. Section 21A बात करता है कोई भी सूट फाइल नहीं किया जाएगा सेट असाइड कराने के लिए डिक्री जो कोर्ट के द्वारा पास की गई है ये ऑब्जेक्शन दे करके कि प्लेस ऑफ सुइंग क्या था, जुरिडिक्शन थी या नहीं थी. Next question is, what does section 21 of CPC cure in context of jurisdiction? Section 21 of CPC cures want of pecuniary jurisdiction and want of territorial jurisdiction. Next situation is, in the case where A files a suit against B for the house possession valued at rupees 8,000 in court C, which has jurisdiction for cases up to rupees 12,000 and B does not object to the jurisdiction. What can B do in the appellate court? In the appellate court, B cannot raise an objection about the pecuniary jurisdiction of the court C. Appellate court में B objection नहीं कर सकता कि C court की pecuniary jurisdiction नहीं है. Next question is, how can parties by their consent or agreement affect the jurisdiction of a court when there are two courts within the jurisdiction in law? Parties by their consent or agreement can oust the jurisdiction of one of the courts when two courts simultaneously have jurisdiction in law. Next question is, what is the effect of an agreement between parties to institute a suit in a specific court regarding a dispute? Such an agreement does not oust the jurisdiction of other courts and may operate as estoppel between the parties. Next question is, does an agreement between the parties to institute a suit concerning a dispute in a particular court affects the jurisdiction of other courts? Answer is no. No such an agreement does not oust the jurisdiction of other courts. Next question is, in cases involving commercial contract between the parties from two different countries, how is the jurisdiction of the courts determined? The jurisdiction of the courts is determined by the intention of the parties. Jurisdiction determine की जाएगी intention से parties की. Next question is, what can an agreement between the parties to institute a suit concerning disputes in a particular court potentially do? Answer is, such an agreement may operate as estoppel between the parties. Next question is, according to the case of Hira Lal versus Kali Nath in 1962, what does the principle of Section 21 of CPC apply to? The principle of Section 21 of the CPC applies to the execution proceedings held in Hira Lal versus Kali Nath, 1962 Supreme Court. Next question is, where can provisions related to the filing of a suit in a representative capacity be found in CPC? Provisions related to the filing of a suit in a representative capacity can be found under Order 1, Rule 8 of CPC. Next question is, can a suit filed in a representative capacity be withdrawn, compromised or abandoned by the plaintiff, and if so, what is required? Yes, a suit filed in representative capacity can be withdrawn, compromised or abandoned by the plaintiff, but only after giving notice to all the parties concerned. Next question is, what is the term used when a necessary party to a suit has not been joined? Where a necessary party to a suit has not been joined, it is a case of non-joinder. इसको non-joinder बोलेंगे. Next question is, what is called when there is a misjoinder of parties and cause of action in a suit? Misjoinder of parties and cause of action in a suit is referred to as multifariousness. Next question is, under which provision is a suit considered bad for non-joinder of a necessary party? A suit is considered bad for a non-joinder of necessary party under Order 1, Rule 9 of Code of Civil Procedure. अगला क्वेश्चन है, is a representative suit applicable to both plaintiffs and defendants? Yes, a representative suit can be applicable to both the plaintiffs and defendants. Next question is, when do parties in a suit need to file the list of witnesses? Parties in a suit need to file the list of witnesses after the settlement of issue. Parties को file करना पड़ता है list of witnesses after the settlement of issue. Next question is, can a suit be dismissed due to misjoinder or non-joinder of parties under Order 1, Rule 9 of the CPC? And are there exceptions to this rule? Answer is, the suit cannot be dismissed on account of misjoinder or non-joinder of the parties under Order 1, Rule 9 of the CPC, provided that this rule does not apply in case of non-joinder of a necessary party. Next question is, under which provisions of the CPC can a person be made a party in a suit either as a plaintiff or defendant? Answer is, a person can be made a party in a suit either as a plaintiff or defendant under Order 1, Rule 10 of the CPC. Order 1, Rule 10 के अंदर person को बनाया जा सकता है plaintiff or defendant. Next question is, what can be done if a person who should have been joined as a plaintiff does not consent to join as a plaintiff in a suit? If such a person does not consent to join as a plaintiff, he may be made as a defendant in the suit. This concept relates to pro forma defendant. Next question is it permissible to add parties in a way that introduces a completely new cause of action? No, parties cannot be added in a manner that introduces a totally new cause of action. पार्टीज को ऐड नहीं किया जा सकता जो इंट्रोड्यूस करती हैं टोटली नया कॉज ऑफ एक्शन. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, वेयर कैन द जोइंडर ऑफ कॉज ऑफ एक्शन बाय द प्लेंटिफ बी फाउंड इन द CPC? The joinder of cause of action by the plaintiff is laid down under Order 2, Rule 3 and 6 of the Code of Civil Procedure. Next question is, does Order 2, Rule 2 of the CPC apply to the application for execution and writ petitions? No, Order 2, Rule 2 of the CPC does not apply on the application for execution and writ petitions. Order 2, Rule 2 apply नहीं होगा एग्जीक्यूशन एंड रिट पेटिशंस के ऊपर. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, कैन द नेम ऑफ ए पार्टी इन ए सूट बी स्ट्रक ऑफ अंडर ऑर्डर 1 रूल 10 ऑफ द CPC? Yes, the name of a party in a suit can be struck off under Order 1 Rule 10 of the CPC. किसी भी पार्टी के नेम को स्ट्रक आउट किया जा सकता है अंडर Order 1 Rule 10 of CPC. Next question is, what happens if a plaintiff fails to sue for the whole of the claim they are entitled to make in the first suit in respect of cause of action? If a plaintiff fails to sue for the whole claim in the first suit, they are precluded from suing in respect of the portion omitted as per Order 2 Rule 2 of the CPC. Next question is, what is the required in pleadings according to the CPC? Pleading must state the facts. Next question is, who should sign pleadings and is there any exception? Answer is, pleadings must be signed by the party or their agent and their pleader if any. Pleadings sign की जाएंगी पार्टीज से और अगर उनका कोई एजेंट है तो उसके द्वारा और उनके प्लीडर के द्वारा. Next question is, under which provision of the CPC can pleadings be amended? Pleadings can be amended under Order 6, Rule 17 of the Code of Civil Procedure. Order 6, Rule 17 के अंदर हम pleadings को amend कर सकते हैं. Next question is, when is an amendment in pleading effective according to the CPC? An amendment in pleading shall be effective from the date of the pleading. अगर अमेंडमेंट होती है तो उसको उस डेट से इफेक्टिव माना जाएगा जब प्लीडिंग्स को फाइल किया था. अगला क्वेश्चन है, हाउ मेनी डेज डज अ पार्टी हु हैज ऑब्टेन्ड एन ऑर्डर फॉर लीव टू अमेंड अ प्लीडिंग हैव ए मेक द अमेंडमेंट आफ्टर विच दे रिक्वायर द कोर्ट्स लीव? A party has 14 days to amend the pleadings and failing to do so within the period requires the court's leave. Next question is the potential effect of an amendment on the jurisdiction of the court is valid ground for the refusing the amendment? No, the fact that an amendment may take the suit out of the jurisdiction of that court is not a valid ground for refusing the amendment. Next question is, at what stage of the legal proceedings can pleadings be amended according to the CPC? Pleadings can be amended at any stage of the proceedings. ये किसी भी stage पे amend की जा सकती हैं. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me in the exploration of the Code of Civil Procedure question and answers. I hope this video has been a valuable resource in your preparation for the competitive exams. Remember, knowledge is the greatest weapon and your dedication will lead your success. Stay curious, keep learning and never stop striving for excellence. Best of luck on your journey ahead. And until next time, stay inspired and stay motivated. See you in next video. Goodbye.